hearts? Would you let them still a baba? Would you let them break us apart? Would you let them, would you let them break our hearts? Would you let them? No, we're not gonna let them, yo. Together they can't break us, we are strong. Divide us and
howdy, folks. Thank you for coming out tonight. I know that it's Game 7, and so attendance is a little low tonight, but we appreciate y'all coming out here. My name is Jamie Spencer. I'm legal counsel for Texas NORML. We're here for the monthly Texas NORML meeting. Let's give a round of applause to Angela and Flamingo Cantina for allowing us to come on the first Wednesday of every month for so many years now. We really appreciate all she does for us. Don't forget to tip your bartenders and bartendresses. Tonight's is going to be a little bit of a shorter meeting. We do have some speakers, and I've gathered some Ask a Lawyer questions. As some of y'all know, this is actually a volunteer gig for me. My real job is criminal defense lawyer. Hopefully you will not need my services, but after I get through the questions that I've already gotten from some folks, if there's time left over, I can take questions from the crowd as well. We are going to have Major David Bass, who is our Veterans Liaison, speaking tonight. We will have Dave Winnicky will do some time about THC, and Akila Parker is here. I saw her earlier. She's going to be speaking about patients. I was speaking, oh, there she is. I spoke to a patient earlier that was, it's their first meeting. Speaking of which, we always do this. Would you raise your hand if it's your first meeting? Awesome. Thank you so much for coming out tonight, guys. Now raise your hand if you're a member. All right, and just for grins, raise your hand if you're a board member of Texas NORML, especially for the first-timers. If you're interested in getting involved in decriminalization in Texas, please feel free to come and talk to one of the board members about what you can do to help. We've got plenty of volunteer opportunities. As you might suspect, an organization that focuses on decriminalizing and legalizing marijuana is a pretty fun group of people to hang out with. So it's not only a valuable use of your time, it can be a fun use of your time as well. All right. I'm going to break this up with some of the questions that I have and answer some questions in between speakers. The first question that I got tonight was, how dangerous is it to have a grow room? That's actually a great question. I do want to make it clear, even though I'm a criminal defense lawyer, and I'm proud of this, and I've never been a prosecutor, we can't advise you to break the law. So let's just make this really clear since we're filming this and it's available on the web. I am not advising you to break the law. However, I am, of course, allowed to answer questions because that's part of what lawyers do. I've probably addressed this before. One of the challenges that I think that we face in eventually reaching full legalization, and we will get there, is that there's some sort of a notion, a not very well thought out notion, by many people that it's okay to possess a small amount of pot, but it's not okay to grow and sell small, medium, or large amounts of pot. And I bring that up because, of course, Texas NORML stands for the proposition that the responsible use of marijuana by adults should not be criminalized in any form, fashion whatsoever. And if you want to have a little bit of marijuana, you have to buy it from somebody who has a little bit more than you do, and they have to buy theirs from somebody who has more than that, and it goes up the chain. That's how business works. If it was coffee or tea or alcohol, we put the CEOs of those companies on the cover of Fortune magazine and laud them for being such great business people for selling huge amounts of fill in the blank, and yet people sometimes have this problem thinking about drug dealers. Well, if the drug itself, and especially in this case, is harmless and okay and ought to be sold legally, and not only is okay but is beneficial for patients, then it's important that people have access to it. That means people have to be able to sell it. Specifically, however, the question was, how dangerous is it to have a grow house? So there is a little oddity in Texas law that for cocaine, methamphetamine, heroin, pretty much almost every illegal controlled substance that there is, there's a crime called possession of fill in the blank, that substance that I just said. And then there is a higher charge, which is possession with intent to deliver that charge. Marijuana criminalization, has its own sad, racist history in Texas, and the reason that's important to this answer is it has its own place in the Texas Health and Safety Code. It has a different history of criminalization than the rest of the drug war does. And the legislature, and I think this is important for people to understand, the legislature doesn't always do things that make sense. And I don't just mean that they write bad laws like criminalizing marijuana. I have no doubt that they probably intended to make possession with intent to deliver marijuana a criminal offense. In fact, I've actually represented people who were indicted by a grand jury. An assistant district attorney went in front of a grand jury and indicted my clients for possession with intent to deliver marijuana. And I had to point out politely to that particular prosecutor when I was in court that there's actually no such offense in Texas. There is no enhanced or increased penalty for possession with intent to deliver marijuana. There is, remember, for cocaine, methamphetamines, heroin, all of the others, okay? So from that standpoint, in theory, it is just as dangerous to possess X amount of marijuana with the intent to sell it, which is essentially what a grow house represents, as it is to possess that amount. I will tell you this, though. If you've got a grow house that's producing less than 4 ounces, that's not much of a grow house. I think that's a grow closet. So in terms of a grow house, you're definitely looking at a felony if it's over 4 ounces. And I'll tell you another thing. This is not written in any book anywhere. This is my experience. This is other lawyers that I know experience. Once you're talking about grow houses and large amounts of marijuana being moved here and there, sometimes you can get the feds involved. And there is a reason for the phrase, don't make a federal case out of it. You really do not want the feds in your business. The general rule there seems to be, we are in what's called the Western District of Texas when it comes to federal prosecution, that somewhere around 100 plants in a house is what piques the Fed's interests. By no means am I saying run out and get a grow house, put 99 plants in it. You could easily get their attention that way. A client in that scenario would probably be caught by state actors such as Austin Police Department or Travis County Sheriff's Office, but the Travis County District Attorney's Office, certainly the Williamson County District Attorney's Office, they might easily, notify the federales if it was a significant grow house. So one of the dangers, to answer the question, is that while under state law you don't actually face enhanced penalties, you face the possibility of being prosecuted by 2 different authorities. I'm not going to go into the double jeopardy and those sorts of things, but the short version is that both the state government, the state of Texas, and the United States of America, the federal government, can prosecute you for the same crime. Sounds like double jeopardy. It's not. That's a different discussion. So that's my answer to the first question. I appreciate the person who asked me to ask it anonymously. I hope I've answered it for him or her. And let's go ahead and bring up our first speaker tonight is David Bass. He's going to be talking about rolling out Operation Still Trapped. All right, everybody, this is David Bass. Thank you.
Thank you for being here tonight. I think I've told this before. I joined in 2012 and came right here to the Flamingo Cantina. And I've been working with Texas NORML ever since. But Jax tells me before 2012, years before that, they met, Texas NORML met at Joe's Coffee Shop. We all know where Joe's is. And she said they would be thrilled if they had 12 people show up. And so this was in the early 2000s. And so when we have our meetings here on once a month on Wednesdays, some Wednesdays the house is totally packed, standing room only. And then occasionally it's a smaller crowd like tonight, which we're thinking might have something to do with the Houston Astros in the World Series. Go Astros. I was really begging the Astros to win last night so I wouldn't miss Game 7, but whatever. When you become an activist, you have to choose your priorities. And my priority is to legalize marijuana in Texas. So, so go Astros, but we're focused on legalizing marijuana tonight. The other thing sometimes I think about is, I mean, imagine how many people in Austin right now tonight are using marijuana. It's a lot, very large number. But we have a meeting about legalizing marijuana so they won't get put in jail and have to call Jamie to help them out. And it's just us, this small group. But I served in the U.S. Army for a long time, and we have a phrase for this. And what we would say in the United States Army is the tip of the spear. And so I want you to know tonight, you are the tip of the spear for legalizing marijuana in Texas. And I can guarantee you that in the 8 legal states, it was exactly the same. It was a small group of dedicated, committed activists who refused to take no for an answer. And just like we're doing, they banded together. They wouldn't give up. They kept working and working and working. And finally, they got marijuana legal in their state. And so that's what we're doing here. Is a relatively small group of dedicated, committed people have been working all these years to legalize marijuana in Texas. And with your help, we will make that happen. So when I meet new people, they often say, well, what can I do? And so the first thing to do is join Texas NORML. And so if you're brand new tonight, we invite you to join us. We're a 501c4 nonprofit. Our money goes to legalizing marijuana. And so the first step is to actually join. And these wonderful, committed activists right over here will be happy to sign you up tonight. So please consider joining Texas NORML. I'm the Director of Veterans Outreach for Texas NORML. For those of you who are new, our focus is January 2019. That's when the Texas legislature will convene for the 2019 session. And we start our preparation for that legislative session in January 2018. So November, December, 60 more days, and then we'll kick off 12 months of work leading up to the 2019 legislature. And we will be, for sure, supporting 2 bills. Representative Joe Moody will reintroduce his bill to make possession, we would hope 2 ounces, but it could be an ounce, for a small quantity of marijuana will just be a civil penalty. rather than a class A or B misdemeanor. And we will also have a comprehensive medical marijuana bill. And those are the two we know for sure that we'll be working hard on. And then there will be other bills that will be introduced, and we'll be very interested in looking at those and considering if we will support them. So the two big goals in Texas are first to decriminalize possession so that the 70,000 citizens who are arrested every year, that number goes down to a much smaller number. 0 would be a really good number. And a comprehensive medical marijuana program. So those are our two primary objectives in 2019, and we hope you will be with us up there at the Capitol, lobbying and advocating for these bills when they come up. All right, here's what I'm going to talk about tonight is Texas Veterans for Medical Marijuana, which is under the umbrella of Texas NORML. Everybody knows Attorney General Sessions, right? Okay. Boo. All right, so everybody knows Attorney General Sessions. He's our arch enemy of marijuana legalization. But there's another Sessions who is also very much opposed to reforming marijuana law at the federal level. And his name is Congressman Pete Sessions, and his congressional district is in Dallas. And so the next action of Texas Veterans for Medical Marijuana, Jax, Heather, and I are working on planning an event, and here's why we're planning this event. This is from, let's see, September 7th. Late Wednesday night, the House Rules Committee, led by Prohibitionist Representative Pete Sessions, Republican, Texas, blocked multiple amendments related to marijuana from receiving consideration by the full House, thus ending their consideration and silencing the ability for the lower chamber to offer protections from Attorney General Jeff Sessions when it comes to cannabis. And Representative Sessions was able to do this because he's the chairman of the Rules Committee. And this is what he did. The amendments that were killed included ending the federal incentive to revoke driver's licenses from those charged with marijuana offenses. One thing we're working on very hard at the federal level is when people do get arrested for a marijuana offense, please stop taking away their driver's license for 6 months. How do they get to work? How do they take their kid to childcare? How do they go to school? And so we have congressional allies that are working very hard to end that federal policy to take away people's driver's license. Representative Sessions killed that. The others were protection for states that have implemented hemp programs. A third one, a reduction in funding for the DEA's cannabis eradication program. Others included expanded access for researchers, which we were just talking about, Jennifer. Protection for banks to provide services to marijuana businesses. Allowing the District of Columbia to implement adult use sales, and expanded protections to the 8 states that have outright legalized marijuana. And so, and the one that's most important is the one that respects states' rights to legalize cannabis within their state boundaries. And this one Congressman Sessions from Dallas, because he's the chairman of the Rules Committee, was able to kill every single one of those amendments when they came up. Just wipe them out. That's how much power he has. And so we veterans are planning an action in Dallas. The date, the place, the time is to be announced, so you can watch for it on our newsletter, which you'll get when you sign up. And you can watch for it on our Facebook posts. But we're going to do an action in Dallas for veterans to tell Representative Sessions that when he takes these actions, he's hurting veterans all across the United States. And the thing is, I was reading Congressman Sessions' biography, and he is a very strong advocate for citizens with disabilities because his daughter has Down syndrome. And so what we want to tell Congressman Sessions is, we know that you are a strong advocate for citizens with disabilities because of your family experience. We veterans are disabled citizens. I'm a 60% disabled veteran. So, Congressman Sessions, please help veterans who have a disability from their service in the military and help us get access to medical cannabis by at least stopping killing these amendments when they come up before your committee and not even allowing your committee members to vote on these amendments. He can, I mean, it's okay if he votes against it. We want to convince him to vote for these amendments, but at least let his committee members and our congressmen vote on the amendments. That's how democracy is supposed to work. When one person can kill this many amendments, to me, that's not democracy. That's some kind of dictatorship or oligarchy or something like that. And so we veterans are going to do this action and try to convince Congressman Sessions that when these amendments and proposals for laws are reintroduced in front of his committee, at the very least, he will not declare them out of order and just totally kill them. So keep an eye out on the newsletter and on the Facebook page. We'll be putting out more information. We're very excited about it because it will be in conjunction with Veterans Day, and we hope to really let this congressman know that Texas veterans are following what he's doing, and we really need his help. We don't need him to stand in the way between veterans and medical cannabis. So that's what I'm up to. Again, thank you so much for being here. It's very encouraging to see new people. It's very encouraging to see the old members who have been here forever. Mike right here talking to Jamie. We had our first lobby day in the legislative session in 2013. And we prepared this lobby day, and then we wondered if anybody would actually show up. And the first person who walked in the door was Mike. So we were like, yay, we got one. And Mike signed up on the computer, and we gave him his name tag, and we were like, okay, we're off and running. We got this. And 50 more people showed up. So our very first lobby day, we had 50 citizens in 2013. In 2015, we had like 200 people show up. 2017, last legislative session, we had 350 Texas citizens show up for Texas NORML Lobby Day. So our goal in 2019, and plus we had a Veterans Lobby Day. We had all different kinds of lobby days, but the main one, we went from 50 in 2013 to 350, and our goal in 2019 is to double that number. So we hope to see you there. Thank you for being the tip of the spear to legalize marijuana in Texas.
Thank you, David Bass. All right, a couple of questions I'm going to answer from the audience, and then we're going to bring up our patients liaison. I'm terrible. I've been on the board for forever, and I'm absolutely terrible at remembering people's actual titles, but she'll be up here in just a minute. Okay, so I just got a question, hey, Jamie, you said something about 4 ounces being the difference between a misdemeanor and a felony. Are they weighing the stems? Are they weighing the stems and seeds? Well, first off, do me a favor and don't get that close to 4 ounces anyway, so we can make sure it's a misdemeanor. But not to be too much of a smart aleck about it, yes, very often they do actually weigh the stems and seeds, and sometimes they weigh the packaging that the marijuana. I'm talking about the police when they confiscate it and then they file charges when they've thrown you in the jail. Yes, they do. They're not supposed to do that, and we can come in later if it makes a difference and actually reweigh the marijuana. And again, where this is going to make the most difference is if my client has supposedly 4.5 ounces of pot instead of 3.9 ounces of pot. The difference between a state jail felony and a Class A misdemeanor is huge, absolutely huge. And for 20 years in my database, I've got a motion that I have to retitle every time that I actually print it out for a client, because what I've titled the motion as is motion to de-stem and de-seed the pot, which is not a very legal way of putting it. We actually end up calling it a motion for quantitative analysis. We say that we're going to get an expert to come in and weigh the marijuana. I can tell you that in most jurisdictions, and that's even Williamson County, by the way, but who knows Williamson County's reputation? All right. Even in Williamson County, if I've got someone that has maybe somewhere between 4 to 5 ounces that has a felony charge, just by the implied threat of filing that motion, we can usually get them to go ahead and reduce it down to the misdemeanor level. But to answer the question specifically, no, the non-germinable seeds and stems are not supposed to count against you. All right. So up next is Akila Parker. Please give her a warm welcome. She's going to be talking about patience.
Yeah, I can't do the microphone and the stand thing because I'm not. I'm a little too animated for all that business. Nope. That works for me. Hi, how are you? I'm Akila. Nice to see you. Good to see you guys. As Jamie said moments ago, I'm actually the patient outreach coordinator. I've been an activist and on the board for Texas NORML for about 2 years now, because patients are my passion. I believe that patients are everywhere throughout our Texas communities. I believe that each and every one of us, whether we know it or not, our cannabis use is medicinal. I think that from maybe your grandma who's got maybe some rheumatoid arthritis, she's using a topical. That's you're a medical patient, Granny. Surprise. I think for the kid that's in college that doesn't seem to study well or sleep well without maybe eating some treats, having a gummy bear, maybe smoking some cannabis, whatever. I do believe that all of us are medical patients. I myself am someone that has to use cannabis daily to kind of, not want to live in my house all the time. I'm really animated. I love people. I love our stories. I want to get to know you. I want to remind you that your story does matter. Here in the state of Texas, we have to go through the legislative process. So we have to get to know our state representatives and our Senate representatives and even our local branches of government. So this last legislative session, we had a lot of bills that went through. HB 2107 was one that applied to medical patients. That would have made leaps and bounds difference in the state of Texas. Does anyone else, by show of hands, believe that the state of Texas deserves a medical cannabis program? Yes, absolutely. The things that Colorado has, the things that California has, we too, as individuals, we deserve that as well. And I believe, just as David Bass was saying, is as medical patients, we all have the ability to sit down with our local branch of government to relate to them on a human basis. It says, hey, Maybe you just like to smoke weed because you like to get chatty. You like to have snacks. You like to go exercise. You like hiking. It helps you sleep better. It helps you be more productive, get things done. It doesn't matter, but your story does. I believe each and every one of us that uses cannabis is, again, personally, I believe it's medicinal for everyone. I think each and every one of you, if you smoke the right strain, you maybe use a tea, maybe need a topical. Smoking isn't for everybody. Edibles, maybe for you as well. I don't know. We'll get into that. Leaps, baby steps. We'll get there. But I do believe that each and every one of us are professionals. We're not lazy stoners. We're not just kind of standing around going, what is that? Okay, maybe you are, but if you are, can we hang out in a couple of months? Because I want to talk about all of the spiritual things with you. But I do believe each and every one of us is a daughter, a son, a parent, a professional. You are a member of this community. You pay taxes. You care and you love being in this great city and state. So your relationship that you build with your local branch of government allows you to make that rapport and that connection and says that we deserve this as medical patients. Is anyone aware that cannabis helps with anxiety? We need that here in Texas. Anybody know that cannabis helps with depression, diabetes, and autism? Yeah. See? Leaps and bounds. We deserve it. Each and every one of us deserve it. And as the patient outreach coordinator, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to merge our patient outreach with some cancer support so that every quarter we can get together. We can share like-minded ideas. We can talk together about, how to sit down across from someone in our local branch of government and sit in their office and tell our testimony, say that I pay taxes. I'm a professional. I am a mom. I am a student. I am a truck driver, I am whatever, but I am a constituent of this county and of this state, and I support and feel that our state needs it. Congressperson, do you? Let's talk about it. Let's build a relationship. 2019 is going to be our year. Our patient voice, it matters because we're everywhere. I did mention that we're going to, I'm working with another board member to have quarterly meetings for our patient outreach, for our cancer support. So what we want to do is we just want to get to know you. We want to get us all familiar to know that the great state of Texas, we deserve better. We deserve the things that Colorado has. We deserve the things that California has. Each and every single one of us deserve it. However, I can't do it by myself. I'll be in the state of Texas until it happens, but I'd really like to see a couple of you in the trenches. I'm Akila, and hope to talk to you after the meeting.
Thank you, Akila, and I really appreciate what Akila said about anxiety. The truth is that life is stressful. Life is a series of ups and downs. We all know that even if you don't have, some sort of super serious diagnosed medical condition, and God bless if you do, and you need it probably more than I do, but marijuana is very good for stress and anxiety. So I absolutely agree with what Akila says about we're all patients. Okay. Dave Winicke is our Director of Fitness and Athletics. He's here to tell us what Texas NORML is doing about that. Please, everybody, give a warm welcome to Dave Winicke.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks again for being here. Give yourselves a round of applause for being here. It is Game 7. I don't know how many sports fans we have in here. Are we sports fans at all? Anybody here? I know you are. Anybody else? Yeah? All right. So, like Major... There you go. So, like Major Bass said, you are the tip of the iceberg for being here on a night when there's other things going on in the world that has the entire country's attention. That's something to be said about your dedication, about your passion. One thing that Jamie said I kind of want to touch on. He said he always gets people's titles confused and mixed up. There's a reason for that. We all wear a lot of hats. We all do a lot of things. My official title is the Director of Fitness and Athletics. What we do We have an athletics team. We call it Team Hope Through Cannabis, or THC. What we do, thank you. Yeah, it's fantastic, right? Yeah. So what we do is we focus a lot on doing some fundraiser walks and charity walks, things like that. And it's about building awareness in the community while breaking stereotypes at the same time. I kind of have this idea of THC kind of branching out into a whole lot of different venues and avenues, such as like, softball leagues and basketball leagues around town. We have kind of started focusing some energy on disc golf. And we've had talks of a disc golf tournament maybe in the works. I'm not saying that we have one in the works yet, but we're still kind of talking about the logistics of what that would be. But we also do wear a lot of hats, like I mentioned. I do a lot of things for Texas NORML that's not just focused on athletics. I've been in the downtown scene, in the bar scene, and the music scene for a long time in this town. So I've gotten to know a lot of different venues and kind of the way festivals work and how to run stages. So we throw a music event every year, and I kind of run the stage for that. I also kind of help out with, it's a golf tournament as well, by the way. It's a music event and golf tournament all in one, and it benefits our veterans. It benefits David Bass's organization, the veterans. And so kind of what I'm saying is we all do a lot, and we're all volunteers, and we need more help. We need people like you who are like-minded and dedicated and passionate about these things to want to come out and help us and kind of fill those gaps where we're all doing a whole bunch of different things. We love doing these things, but we would be able to focus our energy a lot better on the things that we are already strengthened by utilizing our strengths personally and our own characteristics and our own traits. So if there's something that you think you might be able to help us with, if you have some sort of skill or ability or network that you think might come in handy and benefit us, let us know, because it might help. I promise you, we need all the help we can get. We're not going to say no. Like David said, the first thing that you can do is go join at the table. Become a member. Put your money where your mouth is what they say. The little membership fee, that's not a lot of money to most people. It is to some, but it's not a lot of money to most people. But by joining, you are putting your commitment down. Like, you want to be involved. And by doing so, we're going to ask you to be involved. We're going to ask you to start. A lot of times you start by volunteering at that table right there. All of us, every single one of us on the board. How many hours do we log at that table? Exactly. It's laughable. It's laughable. We can't even tell. We can't even count it. I've been a volunteer my entire life. People ask me how I got to where I'm at in Texas NORML. Activism has kind of always been in me. I grew up in my grandparents' house. I was raised mostly by them. My grandmother, when I was a child, worked for United Way, and her official title was the volunteer coordinator of Central Texas. So obviously, when she had holes to fill, who did she call first? Call in slave labor, call in the child, you know what I mean? Send them on in. And of course, I was, okay, gotta do what parents say, gotta go. So I logged in more volunteer hours as a 6-year-old than a lot of people do in their entire lives. Hated most gigs. It wasn't always fun. Some of them were fun. But it kind of instilled in me later in life how important that is. How important it is to utilize your strengths, whatever those strengths are, to benefit those around you who cannot utilize theirs. I'm a talker. I am a very, very social person. On the introvert to extrovert scale, I'm like kicking down the door on the extrovert side. I'm very, very social. My first time public speaking, I think I was probably 6 years old. My first time to address a crowd, and loved it. It was just like talking to people. Okay, I don't have to have a whole bunch of one-on-one conversations. I can have a 20-on-1 or a 100-on-1 or however many. Yeah, it's great. I love it. That's not for everybody. But there's so many things that you can do if you're dedicated and passionate And by being here tonight, on a night when America is distracted by such a big ordeal, especially Texas, Houston Astros are one game away. You probably know exactly how many outs away they are, but we're not going to get into that, of winning the first World Series in Texas baseball history. That's a big thing. What are you guys doing? You're listening to me ramble right now. That says a lot about you guys. So once again, give yourselves a round of applause. If you think you can benefit us, if you think you have a skill that can help Texas NORML, I promise you, you do. Come talk to us. Thank you very much.
All right, I'm going to tell a Dave Winicky story. I don't know how many Dave Winicky stories you've heard. But speaking of volunteering, several years ago out at Reggae Fest, Angela always helps us get permission to set up a table. We had our table set up out at Reggae Fest. And I don't know, Friday night, Saturday night, the warning went out. There's a big giant storm coming. Everybody evacuate the area. And so we lowered our awning and put all of our Texas NORML merchandise under the awning and took off. And just as we were taking off, it was me, Dave, 3 other people, and we were hauling ass to get across the street to the parking garage. And this big giant wind hit the Reggae Fest, and literally awnings and shelters were flying everywhere. It was like a tornado. And so me and my buddy Rick Womack, we ran through the havoc and made it to the garage. And then we're like, where's Dave and Destiny and JVL? We're like, oh my God. And we were trying to call them on the phone. And I'll tell you where they were. Because the last thing I saw Dave, he was running in front of me, and then he just turned around and ran back the other way. And I was like, what the hell? Dave, JVL, and Destiny literally threw their bodies on our Texas NORML merchandise and saved all of our merchandise from the storm, which if they hadn't done that, we probably would have lost thousands of dollars worth of merchandise. And so please volunteer for Texas NORML. We will not ask you to risk your life for Texas NORML, but I can tell you Dave Winicky has risked his life literally for Texas NORML. Thank you, Dave.
All right, we're about to wrap it up. We're going to have some stand-up comedy in just a minute here. I do want to also add something that I talked about last month. As Winicky was talking about, a membership helps us out a lot. If you have ever been, this is a much higher level than our regular membership. If you've ever been a freedom fighter at the $100 level, even just one time, or if you sign up to be a freedom fighter tonight, or you do it sometime in the future. If you've ever been a freedom fighter, I've been telling people this is now the second consecutive Texas NORML meeting. With the misdemeanor marijuana offense in Travis County, I told you I'm a criminal defense lawyer. If you are currently or have ever been a freedom fighter, I will defend your case for free if it's a misdemeanor marijuana case in Travis County. So that's something to think about. You can think of it as peace of mind. I sound like an insurance salesman saying that, but seriously, think about it. Now, don't do me, don't go sign up as a freedom fighter and then just go walking down the street smoking marijuana. I mean, you still ought to be careful, use some common sense. But I'm not kidding. Peace of mind. If you sign up as a freedom fighter now or later in the future, if you've ever been, I will defend you for free for that. And one other little bit of news. It's something that Paul Quincy, a lawyer, has come here and talked about various things when I've led some meetings. We've had some lawyers that are also marijuana lawyers come and talk to y'all. The general rule in Travis County is going to be instead of the XYZ equals dismissal that I've talked to you about, simply take 1 8-hour marijuana class. Usually, if you have no criminal history, that's all you'll have to do. No fines, no penalties. That's a pretty common deal nowadays. So it's an easy case for me to represent you on. But just think of it this way. You don't have to pay the lawyer fees if you become a freedom fighter. All right. Some of the other questions that were posed to me. One was, what is the current state of marijuana law, and what are we doing about it in Texas? I didn't realize this, but I think Major David Bass already kind of covered that during his speech. Plus, I'm saying that because it's 9:31, which means it's time for me to wrap up. Again, don't forget to tip your bartenders tonight. We appreciate Flamingo Cantina for having us. We're Texas NORML. Thank you so much. Please stick around and listen to the comedy stylings of MC Chad Zeitgeist Fisher and all of his comedy band. They're about to come up right now. Please give a warm welcome to Chad Fisher.